I told my girlfriend if I was replaceable, as she called me, just a checkbook. So I pulled the plug, ended lease, returned SUV, locked cards, zeroed the account in my app. And her steakhouse charge failed, her key fob failed. Jared would not take her in, and she ended up on Jessica's Futon. Welcome to AF Tales. Today's story is about a woman who called her boyfriend replaceable while living on his money, and learned very quickly that support can disappear as fast as respect. As you listen, think about what you would have done in his place. My name is Mark and I work in finance. I've always treated life the same way I treat work. I look at patterns, I assess risk, and I try to make decisions that still make sense when emotions cool down. Some people call that cold. I call it useful. When I met Sarah, she wasn't like the person she became. At least not on the surface. She had a steady job in marketing. She was funny, sharp, and ambitious in a grounded way. For the first 2 years, things looked fairly normal. We split expenses based on income. I covered a little more, around 60-40, and that seemed fair. We lived well, not wildly. I drove a 4-year-old sedan, wore plain clothes, and put most of my extra money into savings and investments. Sarah used to tease me for that, but in the beginning it sounded playful. Then, about a year before everything ended, she decided she wanted to become a lifestyle creator. She quit her job and said she needed time to build her brand. I supported it because I loved her and because, financially, I could carry us for a while. That for a while turned into a full year. I took over the rent on our downtown apartment, which she insisted was important for the aesthetic of her content. I took over the lease on her luxury SUV when she could no longer make the payments. I paid for dinners, trips, clothes for shoots, beauty expenses, and all the little extras she framed as necessary for growth. I even gave her a supplementary credit card for emergencies. That card did not stay for emergencies. If I am being honest, the problem started long before the argument. The argument just exposed it. The real issue was that she stopped seeing my support as generosity and started seeing it as infrastructure. Then there was Jared. Jared was a consultant she met at some networking event. He was everything flashy and loud. He wore expensive-looking suits, talked constantly about high-level mindset, and drove a Lamborghini on weekends. I later found out he rented it, but at the time Sarah treated him like he was proof that I lacked ambition. One night over dinner, she told me Jared thought I had a scarcity mindset because I would not buy her a Cartier bracelet. I told her I was not afraid of spending money. I was afraid of wasting it. She rolled her eyes and said that was exactly the problem. According to her, I just wanted to sit in my little office and hoard money. That was one of those moments people try to laugh off because the truth is too ugly to face all at once. After that, the disrespect stopped being subtle. She started staying out later for brainstorming sessions with Jared. She went on weekend trips for content and made it clear I was not invited because I would ruin the vibe. She compared me to him openly, said he had vision, said he had passion, said I was too safe. I was not blind. I knew what was happening. Even if I had not caught anything physical, the emotional shift was obvious. She was testing the waters with him while keeping me in place as the dependable fallback. She wanted to see if he was a better option before giving up the security I provided. That was the setup. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I had just come home after a 10-hour day at the firm. The apartment was a mess. PR boxes stacked in corners, clothes on the floor, dishes half rinsed and abandoned. Sarah was on the balcony laughing on the phone in that bright, breathless way she used to reserve for me. Then she saw me walk in and her face changed immediately. "You're home early," she said. "It's 7, I told her. "I'm actually late." She crossed her arms and said we needed to talk. Jared had invited us to a gala in Miami that weekend. VIP table, big people, huge chance for her brand. She wanted me to book the flights and a room at the Mandarin Oriental. I put my keys on the counter and told her I was not paying thousands of dollars to fly to Miami and watch her flirt with a man who openly disrespected me. The whole room changed. She called me controlling, said everything was always about money with me, said I used it to control her because I had nothing else to offer. That one stung, not because I believed it, but because of how confidently she said it while standing in a dress I paid for, holding a phone on my family plan, in an apartment I covered entirely. I told her I offered stability. I offered a home. I offered a life where she could take a risk without crashing. She laughed. It was not a kind laugh. It was mean and sharp. She said stability was just another word for boring. Then she stepped closer and pointed at me and said the sentence that ended everything. You are nothing special. There are a million guys with jobs. Jared has vision. Jared has passion. You're just a checkbook and you're replaceable. Don't forget that. Then she said she could have 10 guys in the apartment by that night who would treat her like a queen just to be seen with her. That was the moment the relationship stopped being emotional for me, not because I did not care, because I finally understood exactly how she saw me. Not as a partner, as a utility. In the past, I would have tried to reason with her. I would have asked why she was being so cruel or tried to calm things down. This time I did not. Something inside me just went still. It was not a dramatic moment. It was a quiet one. The kind where your heart catches up to facts your mind has been avoiding. I told her calmly that if I was replaceable, then so was what I provided. That was how markets worked. Supply and demand. She looked confused, then irritated, and told me I was being dramatic. Then she grabbed her purse and announced she was going to Jared's place to get ready for the trip. She slammed the door on the way out. She expected me to chase her. She expected apology texts, maybe even the flight confirmations she asked for. She thought the threat of losing her would scare me into compliance. She was wrong. I did not sleep that night. I worked. I opened my laptop and started going through everything. Rent, car lease, credit cards, phone plan, joint account, insurance. Every place where my name and money were holding up a life built on disrespect. I made a checklist. By 8 the next morning, I had taken 2 personal days from work. The first stop was the leasing office for our apartment building. I told the property manager I wanted to terminate the lease immediately. There was a penalty, and it was not small. Nearly $8,000 by the time everything was added up. Normally, I would have hated burning that much money. But sometimes the most expensive option is still the cheapest way out. The manager explained that since I was the sole leaseholder, once I terminated it, Sarah's right to stay there ended too. She would be given notice to retrieve her property before the locks were changed. I told her to proceed. Then I went upstairs and packed only my things. That part matters. I did not throw Sarah's clothes out, damage anything, or make a scene. I took my documents, electronics, clothes, watches, personal items, and everything that actually belonged to me. A few hours later, the apartment looked strange, full of her clutter but none of me left in it. By early afternoon, I was in the parking garage looking at the white Range Rover I had leased in my name for her. I had the spare key in my pocket. When I opened the door, the inside smelled like her perfume and somebody else's cologne. I saw a coffee cup in the holder with lipstick on it and felt a quick wave of disgust. Then I reminded myself that this was no longer about emotion. It was just cleanup. I drove the SUV straight to the dealership and turned it in early. Yes, I took a financial hit. Yes, it cost me. No, I did not care. I was not interested in owning liabilities any longer. After that, I sat in the lobby of a hotel and opened my banking app. I locked the supplementary cards. I transferred every dollar I had deposited into the joint account back to my personal savings, leaving the shared account at 0. Then I blocked her on everything. Phone, social media, apps, all of it. In the span of about 6 hours, I had removed myself from every system that was keeping her comfortable. And then I waited. She did not notice on Wednesday. She did not notice on Thursday. I assumed she was busy enjoying herself with Jared and telling herself she had finally stood up to boring old me. Then Friday night arrived. I was at a hotel bar with an old college friend, finally relaxed enough to have a proper drink when my bank app sent me a fraud alert. A charge had been declined at a steakhouse, nearly $500, then another attempt, then a small ride-share charge. All declined. A couple of minutes later, my friend's phone rang. He looked at the screen, then at me. It was Sarah. I told him to put it on speaker. The second he answered, she started talking fast. Panicked. Loud restaurant noise in the background. She asked if I was with him. She said both of her cards were declining, and she was standing there with the waiter looking at her like she was broke. She said I needed to call the bank and fix it right away. Then she said her ride-share app was not working either, and she was stranded. I just sat there quietly while my friend handled the call. There was something almost surreal about it. The urgency in her voice was real, but it was not about us. It was not about the relationship. It was about access. Access to my money, my systems, my support. That was what she missed first. At this point, what would you have done? Picked up and rescued the situation one last time, or let the consequence stand? My friend hung up. I took another sip of whiskey and imagined the scene. Sarah at dinner with her influencer friends, probably trying to play host, probably assuming the platinum card would handle it the way it always had. That night kept getting worse for her. Around 10, I started getting texts from unknown numbers. First from Jessica, her best friend, saying Sarah was freaking out and needed to talk to me. Then from Sarah, using Jessica's phone, saying her key fob was not working and the concierge would not let her into the apartment building. That was when I answered once, and only to clarify facts. I texted Jessica that I had terminated the lease, surrendered the unit, and that Sarah had limited time to retrieve her belongings before the property would be considered abandoned. I also told her the Range Rover had been returned, so Sarah would need to arrange her own transportation. That was all. The phone rang immediately after that. I let it ring, again and again. I imagined her on the sidewalk in heels, locked out, learning that calling someone replaceable sounds different when they finally remove themselves. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and voicemails from random numbers. I deleted all of them without listening. I went to the gym, got a coffee, and felt something I had not felt in a long time. Relief. Not revenge. Relief. My mother called around noon, and I answered because she never calls unless it matters. Sarah had apparently called my parents' house crying and saying I stole her car and threw her into the street. My mom sounded worried at first, but after I explained what really happened, she just went quiet for a moment and then said she never liked the way Sarah spoke to me at family events anyway. That kind of truth usually arrives late, but it still lands. Sunday was supposed to be the Miami Gala weekend. I did something I should not have done and unblocked Sarah's Instagram for about 5 minutes. There was no glamorous trip, no hotel suite, no champagne, just a black background with white text about healing, toxic people, and betrayal. No details, just vague victim language that told me all I needed to know. Later, through mutual connections, I found out what happened. Once Sarah realized she had no apartment access, no car, and no working money, she went to Jared. She showed up with luggage expecting rescue. In her mind, this was probably the moment their relationship became real. Only Jared was not what he pretended to be. He did not live in a penthouse. He lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates. The Lamborghini was a weekend rental. He liked the image of Sarah when she had resources, not the reality of Sarah when she needed them. He did not welcome her in. He laughed. Apparently he said he thought she was independent, that this had been the whole vibe. And when she explained that I had cut her off and she could not afford Miami anymore, he canceled the trip and disappeared behind business excuses. That is another hard truth people avoid. Some attention is not admiration. It is just opportunism with better lighting. She spent the weekend sleeping on Jessica's futon. By Monday, the rest started hitting her. Phone bill due. Family plan canceled. Insurance changed. Credit card payments due. No income of her own to stabilize any of it. That evening, I walked out of my office building and found her waiting near the entrance. She looked rough, hair undone, sweatpants, hoodie, no polished influencer posture. No bright certainty. She looked smaller, like the version of herself built on audience approval had collapsed. The first thing she said was that I had ruined everything. I told her I had not done anything to her. I had simply stopped doing things for her. She said she was homeless. Said Jared turned out to be a fraud. Said he was a loser. Then, almost immediately, she pivoted to telling me we could fix this, that she missed me, that she missed us. I corrected her. I told her she did not miss us. She missed the apartment, the SUV, the platinum card. The safety of a life she had mocked while spending it. She cried and said she loved me. That word meant very little by then. I told her if she loved me, she would never have called me replaceable. Then she asked to stay with me at the hotel for a few days, just until she got back on her feet. That was the clearest moment of all. Even after everything, even standing there with proof all around her, she still was not looking for accountability. She was looking for a host. I gently removed her hand from my sleeve and reminded her that she once said she could have 10 guys in the apartment by that night. Then I told her to call one of them, and I left. The next 6 months were peaceful in a way I had almost forgotten was possible. I got promoted. I bought a small condo, minimalist, quiet, clean. My money stayed where I put it. My time felt like mine again. Without constant financial strain and emotional chaos, work got easier. Life got lighter. Then I met Alina. She was a pediatric nurse. On our first date, she insisted on splitting the bill. I nearly laughed out loud, not because I needed her to split it, but because the gesture itself was so rare after what I had just come out of. It was not about $50. It was about dignity. It was about someone showing, in a small way, that they did not see me as a resource first. Months later, Alina and I were at a formal charity event downtown. I was getting a drink at the bar when I saw a server moving through the room with a tray of champagne flutes. Head down, shoulders tight, trying not to be noticed. It was Sarah. She looked older somehow, not just tired, worn down. The kind of look people get when reality has been collecting debt from them for a while. Then she looked up and saw me. She saw the tuxedo. She saw me standing calmly in a room she used to think I was too boring to belong in. And then she saw Alina walk over, smile at me, and slip her arm through mine. Sarah's eyes dropped to the bracelet on Alina's wrist. It was simple, elegant, nothing flashy. Just something thoughtful I picked out because it suited her. Sarah looked down at her tray, turned red, and walked away toward the kitchen. I watched her go and felt almost nothing. Not anger, not triumph, just distance. Alina asked who she was. I said, nobody, just someone I used to invest in. Bad return. Then I turned back to the woman who actually valued me and kept living my life. The truth is, Sarah was right about one thing: I was replaceable. Everyone is. But so is anyone who treats love like access and support like entitlement. The difference is this: when the right person leaves, your life gets smaller. When the wrong person leaves, your life gets clearer. The lessons here are simple. Lesson 1. When someone starts treating your support like a guarantee, pay attention. Gratitude turning into entitlement is a serious warning sign. Lesson 2. If a partner compares you to someone else while living off your stability, that is not ambition. That is disrespect dressed up as vision. Lesson 3. Never confuse being needed with being loved. People can depend on you deeply and still not value you. Lesson 4. Boundaries feel cruel to people who benefited from your lack of them. And Lesson 5. The moment someone tells you that you are replaceable, believe them enough to stop proving your worth to them. What would you have done after hearing those words? Would you have walked away immediately, or tried one more time to save the relationship? And have you ever had to learn the difference between being loved for who you are and being used for what you provide?